Hello and welcome to See If It Sticks. It's Monday, which means this is the news at Sticks. I'm Dan.
I'm Dom.
I'm Ross.
I thought you might have been... that Dom might have been replaced with Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a second.
Dimension Hooks. There you go.
Yes, so today it is the news at Sticks,
Yes.
our short form, sometimes
Monday
episode. And this week I was trawling through our primo source of newsula content.
The Metro.
Daily Sport.
The Metro, indeed.
We've only got one
Dom.
for the sport, haven't we?
No, Dom. The Daily Sport is fake news.
Don't start this whole...
It's fake news.
It's fake news. It's going to be huge.
But this piece is incredible. It's going to be just incredible.
Is it the best piece you've ever come across in your life?
Yeah. Right, well, I was trawling
Both of your
through-
impressions are getting better. I just got to say.
I'm
Well,
working well. I think...
Big saturated.
4 years. 4 years, you can get a good impression going.
Yeah.
And then maybe by the end of it, me and Dan doing twin Donald Trumps on Dead Ringers or
He's
something
never
like
going to
that.
make 4
Oh,
years.
mate, I do twid trumps all the time. So I was looking through our favourite source of information, the Metro.
Yes.
And it was on the normal thing. You know, I look around at the funny news and the weird news, and I was on the weird news, and I always like to try and find something which is kind of at least appropriate for this podcast. It's not just a random piece of news. And
10 dead in earthquake or something like that.
3 arrested on podcast.
Yeah.
I stumbled across something which we haven't actually taken much time to look at, which is the subject of snoring.
Oh, right, yeah, no, we
So,
Snoring.
bear in mind, I'm on the funny pages here, so I thought, this is going to be great because then we'll get into a conversation about snoring, and maybe we'll have a little solution come up. But let me just start reading the article, which I thought was going to be a light-hearted look at snoring. A woman who kicked her boyfriend out of bed because of his loud snores was horrified to discover he was actually dead.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yep.
so it was his death gurgle, was it? Or the,
Was
what do
that
they
his
call it?
death rattle? Or
That
something?
is correct, yeah. I just thought he was snoring, so I kicked him out of the bed and told him to shut up, she said. But I felt the sheets were wet and knew something was wrong. I turned the lights on and his face was purple. He wasn't breathing. Holy shit.
Oh,
she was
God.
horrified to be told that he actually had died hours earlier, and the snores were the sound of the air leaving his body
Oh,
while
fuck!
passing the vocal cords.
Oh, no.
That's no good, is it? What did he die of?
He had a heart condition called Brugada syndrome.
Right,
Apparently.
ongoing
So-
thing that
what-
he already had, or is it just...
Apparently so, yeah. He apparently he was a low risk sufferer. So
Apparently they were wrong.
The ongoing See If It Sticks public service announcements. Let's watch out for some things like
Watch
that
out
as
for your
well.
ticker. Get your stethoscope out and listen to your
Well,
own
there's
heart.
nothing she could have done to help him, though, because she was already dead.
Absolutely not.
Why were the bed sheets wet?
I can imagine because you expel your bodily fluids when you
he's
die.
like peed and stuff.
Yes, I think
Right,
I
okay.
believe everything goes.
Everything just goes.
I know everything goes, but I just
anything
wondered, like, maybe
that's a
sweat
sphincter
on-
becomes not a sphincter.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of
therefore-
sphincters in the body.
Yes.
Yes.
Many
And
sphincters.
therefore things are expelled at a...
Yeah.
Yes. So
Alarming rate.
that was a shame. Obviously.
He looked quite young from your picture book that you had
yes,
there.
it did. He was quite young. I can't remember what his age was because I've just
He looks younger than me.
put the sheet down now. But yes,
Rest in peace.
very sorry for that woman and her son's loss.
Yeah.
But completely mucked up my news for this week.
See you later.
However, I did find a new one.
And on that...
Oh,
do
good.
not worry. I've got a new one. Okay, so
Is this a picture book too?
this is yes, we've got
You're loving a staple today,
nice
aren't you?
picture. I've gone staple.
You don't normally staple.
Right, so basically, this guy, this is another thing which we haven't really ever touched on. It's about job interviews.
Oh, that
So-
is a good one. Yeah, why have we never done that?
Oh well,
no one's ever sent it in.
here we go. This is
Obviously, all our listeners are well employed or very unemployed.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the current state of employment.
Yeah.
yeah. So here we go. A teenager who was asked if he'd have sex with his parents during a job interview for a very popular day of the week based food chain.
I was going to say, is this an interview at your work? Is it Dan?
Day of
or-
the week based food chain.
Yes.
Is that like a game of Would You Ever, based on or Have You Ever, or what's it called, where you have to?
Day of the week.
Like where you have to choose one or the other.
Yeah,
Oh.
I would never.
You're gonna get
I don't know,
down
something.
on this day, Dom.
Get down. Oh yes,
It's TGI. It's TGI Fridays.
Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought it was TGI Fridays, and I was like, get down. Gotta get down on Friday.
So Daniel Doherty, an 18-year-old from Derby, was apparently left gobsmacked when interviewers asked him if he'd rather watch his parents have sex for a year or join in just for the start.
That's got to be some sort of fucking weird illegal.
TGI Fridays employers also apparently asked him, would you rather shit a brick or cry a glass?
These are good questions.
That's a good question. I've never heard that.
Hang on, let's address the first one first. Yeah, would you rather join in for the first bit or watch them for a year?
Watch them for a year.
I think all the way. What about the second one?
Shit a brick or cry a glass?
I think it'd be the brick for me.
Yeah, definitely shit a brick. You don't want to be crying no glasses. An anus can be re-sewn and
They're quite good at
tightened
repairing,
back
aren't they?
up.
You know that in time you could tone an anus.
Yeah, but eyes can't be replaced.
No.
And I think the idea of just crying glass makes me feel physically ill.
Yeah.
It gets, in my opinion, it gets
Whereas
worse.
some of my shits
I was gonna
are
say-
rather brick shaped.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I've had a brick before.
Yeah, I have pooped an entire plum.
One of those where you're like,
hot, hot, hot.
babe, I need a glass of water.
Hold on, let me just cry a glass out. For me, it gets worse.
I'm going to need the Savlon. Sorry,
He
guys.
had gone to an interview last Sunday with a number of other hopefuls where they had to take part in challenges such as balloon making.
Why? Why do you need to make balloons to go? What cocktail do you want?
Do you want fries with that?
I assume
Do you
when
want
they
to
say
upgrade that to a large?
I assume when they say balloon making, they didn't actually mean balloon making, and they meant balloon modelling,
Right.
as opposed to making balloons.
Oh right, yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's like the smell of
Getting
the smell of chemicals and rubber in the air.
melting latex down. And
Fucking level of
However, Daniel, an apprentice engineer, was given the bizarre 10-minute grilling by a member of staff who is believed to be a bartender. The question involved God, I cannot read today. The questioning started quite normally when he asked for my previous experience, Daniel said, but after 5 minutes, the interviewer began plucking questions out of thin air. When he asked me if I would sleep with my parents for a year or just join in for the start, my stomach turned and I told him it was wrong and I wasn't going to answer. Then asked, quality reporting from the Metro, if I'd rather shit a brick or cry a glass, and I just stared at him open-mouthed. It was quickly followed by, would I eat chocolate-flavoured shit or shit-flavoured chocolate? I humoured him by saying chocolate-flavoured shit, but then stood up to go. The disgraced chain has since apologised to Daniel, and the member of staff responsible has been suspended. A spokesperson for the restaurant chain said, TGI Fridays offers an industry-leading recruitment process, and this incident fell severely below our high standards. The questions posed during the interview with the candidate
But the balloon modelling was okay.
are obviously not part of TGI Friday's interview process, and we are disappointed to learn of the incident. Immediate action will be taken with the person involved suspended. We have apologised to the candidate for the experience and offered them the opportunity to re-interview with us, which they hope they will take up. But although they offered Daniel another interview at the Derby Centre branch, he has vowed never to go there again. I'm definitely not taking their offer for a second interview. I probably won't go there to eat either, he said.
I've got a couple of points to make about this.
Go on.
First of all, that was quite clearly a member of staff that got told by a manager, I can't be fucked to interview these idiots. Can you go and do it for me? And they thought they'd have a laugh.
I would think,
And
I would
also,
have thought so, yes.
how delicate is this small boy to be so haunted he can't go back there after being asked if he wanted shit-flavoured chocolate?
I'm not going to go there
shit.
to eat.
Do you know what though? Like,
my dream, I can't sleep anymore.
in that situation,
Fuck off.
I would walk away and just be like, I don't want to work for these silly cunts. But at the same time, I wouldn't sit there and go, it was totally inappropriate. But at the same time, I just couldn't be fucked with it.
I'd have been asking the questions back, I think.
I don't
I've
know.
been trying to think of my own.
You're like one of these interviewees where it's like you've read like the interview self-help guide, and it's like always ask the interviewer questions, turn the interview around on them.
like 40-year-old virgin when he's tying up that bird.
Well, how about you? Would you rather have sex with my mum for a whole year or just watch from the start?
But in that sort of a situation, like chocolate flavoured shit and shit flavoured chocolate, that's sort of okay. The shit in a brick and stuff. But the parents thing, because you don't know...
It's an interesting one to start with. I
you
think
don't
I'll
know...
live up to
Well,
that.
this is the thing, but you don't know people's, like, backgrounds. Like, no one's ever going to shit a brick or cry a glass. No one's ever going to eat shit flavoured chocolate. But someone could have a very harrowing experience in their past.
If
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
in that
100%.
Sort of talking about that one specific question.
Well, I mean, because there's far less disgusting ones of those kind of questions, aren't there? Like, what's the one that I always see on the internet? Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Horse-sized duck.
Really?
Yeah. That's apparently the correct answer.
It's always better to take down one large enemy than it is to take down lots of small enemies.
Because 100 enemies, 100 of anything is quite scary, except for maybe ants.
Yeah, but they're horses, aren't they? They haven't got sharp teeth or anything. You just boot them one at a time.
Yeah, but this is the hypothetical assumes they're trying to fight you.
It's always better to take on one enemy than it is many. No matter
and
how
also,
big it is,
horse-sized duck.
Ducks are vicious.
Pull some of those tail feathers out, buddy.
Ducks are vicious.
I don't want to.
Maybe it should be a horse-sized goose. Then no one would want to fight
fuck
it.
that.
I wouldn't want to
break
fight
your arm.
a goose. Period.
Like, you're gonna fight a duck-sized goose.
I wouldn't want to fight a fucking spaniel-sized goose.
But
as most geese are.
The serious question I wanted to get to today was seriously shit flavoured chocolate or chocolate flavoured shit? No.
Shit flavoured chocolate. No, chocolate flavoured shit.
Really chocolate flavoured shit?
Yeah.
Even though it's actually poo? It's actual human feces, but it just tastes like chocolate.
If it tastes like chocolate, it's fine. Unless I'm going to get ill afterwards. Would I get ill?
I don't think there's any guarantees
you'd
either way.
You'd have the same reaction.
It's an unspecified poop.
All the scat listeners, write in. Is there a danger in eating?
Oh no, we're back
pieces?
on scat. Quick.
I was going to say, it's going to be like if I laid one out right here and you ate it. It's that kind of dangerous, I guess. That kind of illness is.
But it's going to taste
I
like
suppose it depends.
It tastes like chocolate mousse, as my poos always do anyway.
Yes, well.
That's
between you and your another consenting adult.
That's generally what you get when you have a 100% chocolate mousse diet.
You're basically a Mr. Whippy.
Ross has gone from the
just tug on his nose, and
I've got the action down as well. The kind of hip flick to get the little flick on the top.
Ross has gone from the paleo diet to the Milky Bar Kid diet.
You can't see this at home, but Ross is gyrating his hips very suggestively.
It's very sexy. Yeah, I can't tell whether he's pooping or dancing on a pole.
I can do both.
Either way, I'm into it.
My question really was that, have you got any solid interview tips?
I don't think I've ever had one.
Really?
I had one when I joined Tesco's when I was 16.
Yeah,
and that was pretty
really
going. Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't really an interview. It was like an informal chat. Really.
I've had many. Out of all of us, I've had the most jobs.
100%. Yeah.
I've just never.
And that's not because I've always been shit at jobs. It's just I've changed a lot because I get very bored very quickly. But my best interview tip would be as honest about your own abilities as possible, because 99% of people go into interviews and are quite obviously bullshitting. Because I'm someone who's also interviewed people. But if you go in there and go, look, I can't do this specific thing that you're asking me to do, but I could definitely learn how to do it. And I can do 9 out of the 10 things you're asking me to do. And that has I've never not got a job that I have had an interview for. I've never not got a job I've had an interview for. There's lots of jobs I've applied for that I've never got the interview for. But every job I've had the interview for, I've managed to get it.
I've always been quite lucky to always work in industries where you kind of just get to do the job. And then you're judged on your job, really, rather than you are your interview.
I must say that, because I had... my interviews thus far in my life have consisted of my job at Sainsbury's, which I applied for when I was 16 years old, I think.
You have an interview for this job?
It was a meeting at Nando's. Yeah. To talk about direction and whether I sort of would fit in and be cool to do it and that. The one at Sainsbury's was okay. I kind of happened to get on with the guy who was like the store trainer there, because he played piano and seemed to be quite interested that I played drums. And also, as like a 16-year-old kid going for my first interview, like I put on like a shirt and trousers. Yeah. And like most of the people that were applying for jobs were like 20-something-year-olds who obviously didn't really give a shit about going for a retail job. So they all just turned up like super, super casual. And he pulled me aside and was like, good work for like just not
not
going full suit, because this definitely isn't the kind of interview you should be turning up full suit, but for at least making a bit of an effort. Like,
I don't know why you shouldn't. I mean, obviously not like a funeral suit.
No,
but like, I don't know why you shouldn't go.
No,
for
you should never go full suit for retail.
No,
because they think you're a fucking loser.
That's basically what he said in not those exact words.
That's good.
No, but if you dress smart, so like sort of smart cash, like Dan, that's on point.
I wore a jumper, but
it's not like you're going to become an accountant.
And trousers.
It's not like you're going to become an accountant.
Yeah, no tie or anything.
No,
just, did my hair.
Suit and tie is only really for like business.
Yeah, definitely. And then when I got the only other job I had to actually apply for there was when I was 17, like a year later, when I applied for a supervisor's job.
Do you have to do an interview for that?
Well, what you had to do is you had to pass almost like a little proficiency test kind of thing. And also they were kind of a bit sketchy about it anyway, because I wasn't 18. Yeah. And to be a supervisor, you were supposed to be 18. In fact, I got paid like full supervisor wage before I was 18, which I don't think anyone had done that. I don't know if they were supposed to do it or what, but I got full like over 18 supervisor wage.
There's no law against doing that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I was a supervisor on some checkouts, so I couldn't even approve the sale of alcohol. No. Yeah, I was like, having to do all this stuff in the evening. But the proficiency thing though, it was kind of one of those things. Like I know, like I joke a lot about working in retail. But I had some really good times working in retail. Like I met a lot of people that I'm still friends with now. And, essentially it paid for my early years of like going out with Dom and, hanging out with all you guys. And then when I was at university, it paid the bills. It was fine. I wouldn't have half the amount of shit that I've got now, or I've been able to do half the amount of shit that I've done if I didn't have that retail job. But, some of it is absolutely hilarious, because I remember like, the kind of people that were applying for this supervisor job, when I applied for the supervisor job, like there was kind of like two tiers of people. There were people that had worked there for like quite a substantial amount of time and decided it was maybe their next career move. And then there was kind of like another tier of people that were like 18, 19 years old at university and wanted the extra money for their like part-time work. And I was kind of like this weird, like the outsider kind of like, but I just remember some of the questions, like, you've got like the duty managers pulling you in, and like there was this test where you got shown a schedule for the week, right? And then you got given some information in the schedule. And I remember what the information was. Like it was that it was like Linda's currently scheduled for 50 hours a week. Like James and Julie are students. They're contracted for 12 hours a week, but would love some extra work in the evenings. So-and-so's working this amount of hours, but doesn't want to have to work this and blah, blah, blah. And it was like the answer was apparent to me just immediately that like you can't, like Linda can't work 50 hours. Like that's, you're not allowed to do that. Like in Sainsbury's, you were only allowed to work 39 hours. So you take her extra hours, divide them up between the two students. So they get all the shifts are getting covered. It was in the evenings, blah, blah, blah. And then give so-and-so this and swap around with this. And then someone was looking for loads more hours and it was available on the department. So what you could do is you could work Sundays. And if you worked Sundays, you could work 39 hours plus a shift on Sunday. It was this really like simple thing. And I looked at it and I remember looking at the sheet of paper for about maybe 2 minutes and just sort of getting it all straight in my head and putting the piece of paper down. And like, I just remember that there was this lady that worked there who was the duty manager, and she was just staring at me blankly and almost like smirking at me. And I remember thinking like, oh, what the fuck have I done? Like, oh my God, yeah. I've done fucked up here. And I was like, and she was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, like, do you want me to explain it? And she was like, well, do you not want to write anything down or make any notes? So I said no. And I thought that she was like, I thought that, maybe I just completely misunderstood it. But as it turned out, she thought that I had completely misunderstood it. And so like, was just like putting the piece of paper down. Like, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing here. But she was like, say that, like people had like 20 minutes to do this kind of shit. And I was just like,
2
No,
minutes.
it's obvious.
Yeah.
So I got the fucking job. That was that.
At 17.
That was literally that. They said, "Would you be willing to take your earrings out?" And I said, "I'll do whatever you want." And then as soon as I got the job, I just put them back in.
It's just dawned on me. I did go for an interview. I've been on an interview and I didn't get the job. When I was 17, I went for studio manager at the BBC World Service, a job that I was never going to get.
But you got the interview.
I got the interview, yeah. But I think that was because I was really good friends with my lecturer, the radio lecturer at college. And I think he kind of called in a favour, and it was like an experience for me to go and do it.
Well, made him look like an idiot, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I went up there, and I just, it's one of those things I distinctly remember that interview because they were asking questions like, name 5 ways that you can transmit audio from out on the field back to base. And I was like, well, you got internet, satellite, radio and all this type of shit. And then one of the questions they asked me is like, you're in a room that's 360 meters long.
Yeah.
And obviously the speed of sound is 360 meters per second. It's like, how long does it take for the sound? What's the reverberation time from this side of the hall?
2 seconds.
And I said 2 seconds. And like when I got to the end of the thing, he told me that one was wrong. But he said it was 1 second. I was like, no, but it's got to come back. And he was like, oh yeah, fuck. And he like rewrote his question. Or he wrote his answer or something, and they'd getting schooled by a 17-year-old. But then they told me I couldn't have the job because I wasn't old enough.
Oh.
Because I had to be left on my own. I couldn't be left on my own because I was 17. But I was never going to get a fucking job anyway.
No.
Studio manager at BBC World Service. That'd have been boring as fuck as well, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Boop, boop, boop. They had little pedals under the desks so that you could flash the presenter when to talk. So you have a red pedal and a green pedal.
Yeah.
So you flash the red one to say get ready, and then foot on the green to go. And all the faders go the wrong way. All the faders come towards you to go up in volume.
Why?
It's a BBC thing. All the BBC mixing desks do the same. I don't know if Radio 1 does, but all the faders come towards you because if you put your paperwork down on the thing, you can't knock a fader up.
Right.
Oh, so that's actually a bad idea.
Yeah, all BBC faders go the wrong way, and that is so weird for me.
So when you're banging someone on the console.
That's it, yeah. When their titties are flapping around and not turning faders.
In the World Service.
So it's like,
because being a member of the BBC World Service is going to get you the pussy.
Yeah.
Having that little BBC pass, you see all the girls looking.
I know John Humphreys.
Yeah. In today's news in South Korea, there was
Yeah, that was a fun interview. That was terrifying going into that building. That was a really scary building.
I don't know if I've ever had scary interviews. I just sort of swan into interviews and just talk.
Yeah, I've had a lot of informal chats. Like when I started
disciplinary hearings.
Yeah, those as well.
Disciplinary hearings. I've had lots of those, and I always get away with it.
You know, when I was getting ready to when I was nearly about I was on the verge of leaving Sainsbury's. There was this lady that used to work in there who was sort of like a lifer kind of thing. Her name was Sue. And she was.
And there really is. If you've never worked in a supermarket before, there are people like that who have worked there for 30 years.
Yeah.
And they've never moved. They might have moved up once, but they'll never move up again.
Well, but bless Sue. Sue was lovely, and she was really incredibly down to earth. She was the manager on the counters for as long as I was there. The deli counter and that. And but she was quite old, and she went into kind of semi-retirement. So she wasn't the counters manager anymore, but she would come in and sort of help out with management activity and things like that. And I just remember, I think I got a disciplinary towards the end of my time at Sainsbury's.
Your tenure.
And because I was getting in trouble all the time. But what it was is that I would get in trouble because something would happen, and so I would leave a shitty note or something like that. But it would never be
supermarkets love a shitty note.
It would never be really, really aggressive. It would just be super, super sarcastic, and someone would take. I remember once I had this disciplinary because the night staff in Sainsbury's were, I was on the bakery, and this was when I was at university, so I'd gone past the point of being any form of manager or supervisor or anything. I was now just a bakery assistant, 12 hours a week in the evenings for 3 days for 4 hours. And but on certain days I would have to check the dates and stuff on the stock, and it was just always wrong. It was never rotated. And on a bakery department, like, you know, you get like 3 days on some of this stuff. So if you don't rotate it, then it just all goes out of date, and you end up having to reduce loads of shit down. And I left this bloody note. It was like, I found an old calendar, and it was like, this is a calendar, like, it's not this year's calendar, but it does show you the way that the days occur in succession. For example, like 22nd comes after the 21st, which comes after the 20th, which comes after the 19th. So let's go through an example. And I wrote out this whole like elaborate example of how one date is before another day, and like I wondered if that they would pass on this information like a virus around the night shift, so that they could actually, you know, like count, like, and maybe I could come in and if they needed to learn their numbers, I would be willing to give lessons for free just so that they stop fucking my day up. And like the entire night shift, like,
surprising.
Oh my god, this guy
sarcastic messages from a 16-year-old. Yeah.
No. Oh mate, I was 21 by then.
Oh yeah, because that's better.
I was the guy that was like the supervisor on the night shift. Like I don't know. I think he thought he was a bit of a tough guy or something. Like he was like, you know, sort of like was telling all the bakers that if I saw Dad in the street, I'd punch his lights out. They were just like, yeah, all right, mate. And like all the night shift like made a complaint against me and all this sort of thing. And like it ended up being like, you know, like they took me into the office and they were like, you know, the only way you're gonna get out of this is like you're gonna have to go and apologise to the night shift. And I went, okay, then get them in. And they went, no, you're gonna have to go and apologise to the night shift like when they're in, because, you know, they work anti-social hours. So I was like, no, you're gonna pay me for that? No. Okay, well, they get the night shift in. Anyone that has a problem, you get them in when I'm working, and I will apologise to them. And they were like, well, that's never going to happen. I was like, that's not the only thing that's never going to happen then, is it? But basically, the one after that is that we had this fucking freezer, which they installed these alarms on the freezers, right? The company that installed the alarms did this research, right? And what the research showed is that alarms, beep, 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 people can tune out of.
Yeah, after a little while. That's why those Clifford car alarms go beep, 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 wee, wee, wee.
Yeah, right. So, what they do is, as an initiative, they, on freezers, which obviously you pull, close and shut, pull open and pull close, people would often leave them open for quite an extended period of time, especially if they're going in and out a lot.
Yeah.
And obviously, one, it wastes electricity. And 2, you could spoil the products if you leave it open for long enough.
Yeah.
So they started putting alarms on the freezers so that if they stayed open for more than 15 minutes, they start to make an alarm. Now, this company did all this research. I spoke to the engineers as they were installing them all. And what they found is that speech works best. Yeah. Because it kind of like, because it's always changing and it's patterns you recognize.
Yeah.
It goes into your mind. And what they found was the most annoying, that was their words, not mine, was a northern accent. Right?
Okay.
So these freezers, if you left them open for more than 15 minutes ago, door open, please close the door.
Oh my god,
door
yeah, we had
open,
the same ones at
please
Asda.
close the door. Door open, please close the door. Over and over and over. And until you shut it, it would go and get louder and louder and louder.
Really?
Until you could hear it down the other end of the warehouse, right?
We had the same thing at Asda.
Now the trouble
same
is,
voice as well.
Now the trouble is, on these freezers in the Canterbury Sainsbury's store, that store is like 30 years old now, right? So the freezers there are pretty like knackered. The doors on them, you know, they rock on their hinges and that. So if you didn't shut it dead on straight, the sensors would smack each other and knock each other out of whack, so that you couldn't actually close the door, right? So basically, the alarm had been going off on this freezer for about a week.
Oh God.
And it was driving everyone mad, right? So helpfully what I did is I just got a screwdriver and undid the actual sensor. It had all been logged. Like I hadn't stopped anything from happening. Took the sensor off, taped it to the other part of the sensor so that at least the alarm stopped going
like the
off.
magnet end, yeah.
And then left a note on the door saying, addressed to the engineer that would have to come in to say that I'd taken the screws, put them in a little bag, and they were in the bakery. All they needed to do was ask a member of bakery staff, and they could get it for them. And I left in the bakery a note with the little bag stapled to it, which said, I sorted out that fucking door. It's been driving me crazy, and I know it's been driving everyone else crazy. When the engineer comes in, because you know they used to take their sweet time coming in, just give these to them so that they could put it all back on. because I'm not allowed to rewire it or anything. Oh my God. Because I used the word fucking in this note, right? Yeah. My bakery supervisor said, basically dragged me in for this, disciplinary.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it was ludicrous, right? But the thing is, it went on for ages because the thing was, her argument was that I left a note with, a swear word on it in an area where anyone could have seen it. Anyone could have gone up there and taken offense to it, even though it was round by the baker's kind of station. So I said, okay then, so no one's allowed to swear in the bakery anymore, just in case anyone on the bakery hears it. And they said, well, if people take offence to it. I was like, well, if you tell me that someone takes offence to swearing on the bakery, I will make sure that swearing does not occur on the bakery. And they were like, oh, we need to go see about this. So I got a little notebook out, and then every time my supervisor swore on the bakery, and she would swear so quite often, I wrote it down. And then when I got back into my disciplinary, 2 hours later, I was like, there you go, she's swearing in the bakery, so I'm offended. So we're going to do this. It went on for 3 days because it was ridiculous. It was fucking ridiculous. And Sue, who had been a lifetime, colleague in Sainsbury's and now gone into semi-retirement, was actually taking care of my my disciplinary and do all the notes on that. And she was kind of as I say, she's very down to earth, and she was kind of having a bit of a laugh about it and saying, it's ridiculous, we've got to go through the process, it's been reported, blah, blah, blah. She went out and she brought in this slab, an inch thick. And she was like, can I just show you something, Dan? And I was like, go on. She's like, you have worked here for how long? And I was like, oh, it's about 7 years at the time. She's like, this is your file. I've worked here for 30. And she had 6 little slips of paper. All of my disciplinaries from over the years, years and years of shit. And because I'm so verbose in because the thing is, especially when it's ridiculous like that, I'll just sit there and I will talk and I will eventually... Yeah, it's a bit like, where they say that if you want to write something, you just write, and even if you type ums and ahs, you just don't stop writing for 20 minutes, and eventually you will just click into something and you just subconsciously write something decent. I just do that. Just go, and then eventually I'll hit across a good point, and I'll be like, right, yes, so no one's going to swear in the bakery anymore, then I'm going to make sure that no one fucking swears in the bakery anymore. I'm going to go and take a note, and eventually I get somewhere. Yeah, inch thick my file was in Sainsbury's.
Could you not have got a copy of that when you left?
I did
just to frame some of the best bits.
I did actually ask if I could have a look at it.
You must be able to have it. It's your information.
Well, you can't take it, but you can have a look at it. I had a little look through some fucking hilarious shit in there.
Yeah. Greatest hits.
Dan's greatest hits.
I had a similar sort of file when I worked at Morrison's, which was my first job. But the way I left Morrison's was possibly one of my crowning achievements of life. I'd worked there for 4 years, and they fucked me about a lot on management and stuff. You remember, don't you?
Yeah.
They promised me management wages all the time. They were
he fed his manager a shit flavoured chocolate.
And basically, I ended up working on the counters, and then one day, a bunch of people didn't come in, and they wouldn't give me any cover. So I was running this thing for 10 hours by myself, and I got a little bit flustered because no one can just one person run a counter. It was a relatively busy store. And this was hot chickens as well as deli, as well as all that shit.
That happened to me in Tesco's once.
And I was just like, this is... I know I went out to the manager and went, this is fucking bullshit.
It's not hygienic as well, because I was jumping between fish and
what the fuck?
deli meats.
And all this. And he was just like, okay, we'll try and sort something out. And then someone came on, and then my department manager came up to me and said, oh, can you come see me in the office? And then it was an impromptu review. So it wasn't a disciplinary, it was an impromptu review. Basically, it was just a way for him to bollock me without actually having to bollock me.
Yeah.
And he was just sitting there going, this and this and this. And I went, I'm going to stop you there. And he was like, what? And I went, and it was in the sort of one of the cash rooms. Yeah. So there was a till machine, a receipt machine. And I just went, ripped it off. And I said, can I have that pen? He went, yep. I just wrote it down and go, regrettably, I have to quit with no notice. Dominic Alexander. And I gave it to him. And he was like, no, you can't do that. And I went, just watch me. I went out, I cleared out my locker, threw my coat on, went downstairs, and I found the manager earlier who I had said, this is fucking ridiculous, because obviously he had sent this guy to ream me out, but the guy didn't want to ream me out. I went, here's my locker keys. And I went, sorry, I've left you in the lurch. And he went, he said, well, you wouldn't say sorry if you weren't sorry. And I was like, exactly why I'm leaving. See you later. I just walked out and met my missus at the time and had a nice day in the sun.
I remember doing almost exactly that in there was, because you got a bonus in retail, like in Sainsbury's you got a bonus, and there were percentages of your yearly salary that you would get. Like
I did that in Tesco's as well.
Like if we hit sales target
much, but it was good.
across the company, if you hit sales target, you got like a percent. If you hit certain other targets, then your store, if it hit certain targets, you got another percent. If you got a written warning on file at the time, it meant you didn't get your bonus. And I remember there was this fucking guy. There was something ridiculous that I got a disciplinary for, and I knew that it shouldn't be going through. But the thing is that the guy who was giving it to me, I was just debating in my mind whether like I should just name names or not.
No, I don't know.
The thing was that he was this bald guy, and it was someone. He's someone, the kind of person that he's a department manager in Sainsbury's because he's so fucking thick. He literally has no other function in life. Like that is all he would be able to do. And I used to have to constantly like reality check myself when I was talking to these people. Like it's an awful environment to work in when you kind of you're talking to someone who is essentially has the IQ of an egg, right? and they are you know, they're sitting. He's sitting in front of me, and there's a good chance that he's about to lose me a few £100.
Yeah.
Just to mention, though, not everyone in retail.
No, absolutely not.
Because I've always tried to fight against, because I know a lot of people are very biased towards people that work in retail.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Out of all those sort of idiots, as you say, idiots, there are a lot of really intelligent and lovely
100%. As I said, when I started ranting on about my time at Sainsbury's, I had a really great time there. And most of the people that I worked with, in general, overall, I liked as people.
No, you were just saying these people, and it tells
no, I meant like there's a type of person.
Yeah, there is a type of person you find there.
And also like they're the kind of people that like, you know, they kind of climb up that ladder over an amount of time, and they get to their department manager's position, and then it never goes any further than that because they are an egg. And it was something ridiculous that I had this bloody disciplinary for, and I just had this funny feeling that that there was like possibly some strings being pulled, and I thought, I bet I'm going to get this fucking written warning as like a message, because it was all to do with like some sort of bakery politics. I can't remember what it was for.
Bakery politics?
Oh, no, because the thing is, the bakery is like a maverick department in the supermarket, because we're sort of like out the way, and like everyone's in early, and like you kind of get on with your own thing, and like, because and
also they get paid more than everyone
else. There was a lady who was a duty manager in our store.
Bone of contention.
There was a lady who was like a duty manager in our store that when my first bakery manager, when I went over there, she had it in for him so much, and then one day he just went to her, until you have any fucking clue how to run this department, do not come over here and tell me how to run the department. And through that, she ended up coming in and working for us for a week. I was the supervisor.
To learn. She could bollock him.
I was the supervisor, and Nick was the manager.
Good management.
Yeah. 100%. She came in there, and she had no fucking idea, like, you know, the amount of like things we had to do. And she was like, "Well, I had no idea." She still afterwards, she was like, "Right, you've had me in the bakery now. I've still got to get you for this." And she eventually got him. Pushed him out the job essentially.
Oh, really?
Shit.
Well, he left. He just walked out one day.
People don't generally leave amicably in retail. They generally just walk out.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that though. My last retail job, I left on very good
terms.
Yeah,
I gave my 4 weeks notice. And
I've always given the full notice.
Yeah, but I tend to find it is very much like a fuck you, because you do get worked really hard. It's a very exploitative industry.
Yeah.
Until you get higher up. As the higher up you get, the less work you have to do, and you know
not necessarily the case in retail, I found.
This is why all store managers in supermarkets, when you see them walking around, look like death.
Yeah.
Because you are, firstly, in those big stores, you are the head of a multi-million-pound business. You are also an accountant, a HR person, someone who stacks the shelves, someone who takes in the deliveries,
and potentially an egg.
Yes, also potentially an egg. It's like big store managers. It is. You are doing an MD's role.
Oh yeah, you're doing an MD's role on an egg's IQ often. Like do you know what, our store manager? Because talking of the hours, when I was covering the bakery management position,
eggs.
He or she, I'm not going to be too specific, pulled me up one day and was like, you know, all the other managers do all these hours, but I noticed that you clock in at, you're 6 a.m. and you go home at 3 o'clock every day. And I was like, yep, that is what the amount of hours. Yeah, because I can only do up to like 48 hours per week. Otherwise I don't get paid anymore.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's illegal and that. She was like, yeah, but all the other managers stay, they do extra because, if the work's not done at the end of the day, they stay there because they're a manager, they're accountable. And I was like, well, shouldn't you be taking it up with them then? Like, if they can't fit in their work into a working day, then that makes them useless and me really good.
Yeah, but they're having a go at you because you're not putting any.
Yeah,
extra
because
so
like
the bakery shit. No, fuck off then.
From her point of view, it was like, I don't give a shit about the job, so I'm not going to do any extra hours. From my point of view, it's like, no, I get the work done in the like if someone says
in the time allotted.
Yeah, like what's the point in having a shift pattern and being told to be there on certain days at certain times if you're not going to fucking do that?
No.
It's a bit different if you're going to be sticking around and getting paid, and it's going to make you more money in the long run.
Exactly.
That's a bit different. But when it's that and you don't get paid anymore for doing the extra time, and you've got the work done anyway in the time that you're supposed to be there, then there's no point in sticking around.
Yeah.
I've never had a disciplinary, but I used to get this thing when I worked in radio called a snoop, and it's used to happen like twice a week for me, where they would, whenever you put the fader up to talk on the microphone in the studio that we were in, there was a mini disc recorder that would click on and record, and then you put the fader down, it would stop. So what you could do in a snoop essentially is put your mini disc in, hit play, and it would just be you talking, so it cut out all the music and stuff. And I used to sit there, and she used to berate me, my old program manager or director, I can't remember what they were called. She used to berate me for everything I said. Why did you say that word like that? And why did you throw to this and not this? Oh, it was fucking awful. She used to bollock me like twice a week. But
Really?
It wasn't a disciplinary, but it was like a bi-weekly fucking degrading session.
I will mention this News That Sticks has gone on for about 40 minutes.
It's gone on for a long time. So basically, in my...
What was it about?
I was going to say that...
interviews.
So that in my disciplinary, when I lost...
What?
When I got my written warning, and they say to you, you can appeal this written warning within like 14 days, I had already... printed off in the office a actual proper piece of stationery, like appealing my written warning with my name, address, dated it, signed it, even guessed the time that I would guessed a rough estimate of when this disciplinary would be ending, signed it, put it in an envelope, and addressed it. So he said, "Of course you can appeal the written warning." And I went, "Yeah, I know." I put it on the table, and everyone was just sitting there. They go, and I was just like, "I'd like to appeal that now." And he was like, "I think you should take it away." I was like, "No." And they came and fucking gave it back to me. And they were like, "I really think you should think about this." I was like, "No, I've thought about it. Like, I knew this was going to happen anyway. Like, it doesn't show you that the system, there's possibly something wrong with the system if I can guess that I'm going to get a written warning for something so fucking ridiculous." So anyway, interviews. We're talking about interviews. So just to close, I found these hilarious... Shut up, Dom.
Sorry, go on.
So just to close the News That Sticks this week, we'll close it in the way that an interview is often closed, being asked, what do you think are your weaknesses? So I've got two for you here. One person online suggests saying, remain silent and pull an index card out of your pocket that says, I over-prepare. And one person suggests for you to say, people say I can be condescending. That's when you talk down to people. That's been the News That Sticks this week. I've been Dan.
Oh, I've been Dom.
I've been Ross.
And I just have too big a dick.